So I saw the Sonic movie a few days ago. Before I get too into it though, I dug this out. This here is my film degree that I spent tens of thousands of dollars on. So I'm going to put it in the background so that we can just remember that I spent tens of thousands of dollars in the study of film. And it all pretty much boils down to me talking about the Sonic movie. There we go. It's going to live back there for a moment, just as a little reminder. My 5 years of college boils down to me talking about the Sonic movie. So let's get into it. So first things first, just for some pretty general impressions of the movie, it's a pretty fun movie. It's pretty enjoyable overall. There are some pretty big fundamental flaws with the story in and of itself, which are sort of similar problems to what Detective Pikachu had. If I was to compare the Sonic movie to Detective Pikachu, I'd honestly say that they're on par with each other for the most part in terms of like entertainment quality. Detective Pikachu and the Sonic movie both have different flaws, where like Detective Pikachu's plot was a little bit all over the place. There were like 3 different plots throughout the movie, but it was entertaining the whole time because they switched plots so that there was just new stuff to be uncovered, where the Sonic movie had kind of the opposite problem, where it stuck with one plot the entire time, which was pretty good, but because of that, it was a little slow at times. Ironically enough, one of the problems I had with the Sonic movie was the pacing. Like, it was a little slow at times. But you know what? We'll start from the beginning. So as a quick disclaimer too, I'm going to talk about spoilers and stuff in this movie. I'm going to talk about some plot details, some of them somewhat in depth. So if you haven't seen the movie and don't want it spoiled, don't watch this until you've watched the movie. So there's that. There's my warning for you. The movie starts off with Robotnik chasing Sonic. So they jump you right into the action. And I'm anticipating that they did this just to remind people that Jim Carrey is in this movie, because he doesn't come into the movie for a good like 20 minutes or so, which is fine. But the problem is they start with Robotnik chasing Sonic through San Francisco, and then they literally do a freeze frame and then do that like, you're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation, like that kind of thing, whatever. They do this, they do it quirky, whatever. So then Sonic's like, well, I have to take you back to the beginning, and then they rewind the entire movie. So they're like, and they rewind the movie, so you get to see like flash frames of every like major scene in the movie. And then they drop you back to Green Hill Zone in Sonic's world, where Sonic is a baby running through Green Hill Zone. I don't generally like movies with narration in them. I think that it's very kind of boring and not very interesting, and also in a way can be very lazy writing potentially, depending on how they're trying to get exposition out. So I would have rather just started at Green Hill Zone. We would have seen baby Sonic running around. That would have been great. Because then, you know, in the movie, you eventually get back to that point where we started, and then, which they do. So then I was waiting for that moment where when we get back to San Francisco, we're all caught up on the story. So I was waiting for them to have like a quippy one-liner or something, like, okay, now, you know, but they didn't. They got to that point, they freeze frame again, and then Sonic goes, now we're all caught up. I bet you're wondering how it's going to end. Me too. And then they play the rest of the movie. If you're going to do that, there should be a little bit more to it than just like, now we're here. Now here's the end of the movie. There wasn't really any sort of payoff. There wasn't really like a quippy line or anything that was said. It was just kind of dumb. So anyway, baby Sonic's running around going super fast, and we learn that Sonic has a parent that's an owl, which I don't think, not to my knowledge, has ever been established anywhere, but that's fine. If they want to take some creative liberties with a little bit of, you know, make a new origin for Sonic, cool, awesome. The owl is like, oh, Sonic, you can't be running around so fast. What if you get caught? And he's like, I won't get caught. I'm super fast. That's the... Because I guess there are echidnas in the Sonic world, in Green Hill Zone, that are after Sonic because he's got the superpower where he can run really fast. So the owl ends up getting like shot with an arrow. It was great. It was a good part of the movie. I was like, oh shit! Sonic's owl guardian is dead. They're like, Sonic, take these magical rings. They'll teleport you to different dimensions. The owl throws one, and it teleports him someplace. I don't think it's Earth right away, but it takes him to a place. And she's like, she gives him the bag of rings, and then says, go into the portal. And then he goes into the portal. And they're like, if you ever get caught, go to a new place that will be safe. Boom. And then Sonic wants to run back, but the portal disappears, and he's not able to go save his owl guardian. So it starts off kind of sad. We're like, oh shit, he does not have any parental figures now. The rest of that opening is still just Sonic narrating his life, being like, every morning I wake up and I've lived here, I've lived here for X amount of years and stuff. So then it shows this like montage of him going about his normal day. The whole thing here is that he's been living on Earth in like a cave or a tree or something, and he's so fast that he can just go and spy on people. So Sonic has been, throughout all these years, been spying on Tom and Maddie. He's not allowed to go meet these people and have any real friends, but he ends up saying like, these people are my friends. So he has like in his head made friends with these people without ever actually meeting them, because if he meets them, he'll get caught and he'll have to run away to a new planet and all that kind of stuff. So my favorite part of this entire opening sequence is that they've established a character named Crazy Carl, who is like the guy that has seen Sonic. He's the one, he's like, I've seen the Blue Devil. He calls him the Blue Devil. And Sonic is so fast that no one else can see him. No one else has ever been able to catch him or see him or anything. But Crazy Carl's out there with like bear traps trying to catch Sonic. And he's, oh, I'm going to get him and stuff. So I like this character. I think this Crazy Carl character, I think he's great. But my favorite bit with Crazy Carl is that they show a quick shot of him with the Sonic drawing on a piece of paper, like as if he drew it. And he's showing these people in like a restaurant or something. And he's showing them these people like, this is what the Blue Devil looks like. And it's great. And I love that part because I like that they put Sonic in the movie somewhere. And it really works contextually with how they worked it in. They didn't just throw it in as a like a lazy reference. They at least worked it in to the story, and it made sense with this character. So I love that they went through the effort to make sure that the reference was put in justifiably, which is great. So I love that. So far I see the Sonic drawing, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be that kind of movie. They're going to throw in a bunch of little Easter eggs and references that Sonic fans will be very delighted by. So I could tell that they put a lot of love into the movie. So I was pretty excited just about that alone. There was a funny bit where this turtle's about to get hit by a car, and so Sonic runs by and saves the turtle, and then ends up talking to the turtle like, oh, it must suck being so slow. I know. And then Sonic just goes fucking running with this turtle in his hands so the turtle can experience what it's like to be fast. Sonic puts down the turtle, and the turtle's just shaking when it's done going so fast. It was kind of humorous. The one thing that I realized throughout this movie is that a majority of the jokes are just, the punchline is that Sonic is fast. That's a majority of the jokes. I don't know what else I really expected, but I was sort of hoping they'd have a few more, like just kind of cleverly written jokes that were not unique to Sonic being fast or anything. Most of them were just Sonic is fast. Anyway, so we end up getting to a point in Act 1 where Sonic is playing baseball with himself. There's a lot of little scenes where he's just dicking around, being fast and whatnot. This opening part maybe goes on a little too long. Anyway, he runs around the baseball field really fast because he realizes that he has no real friends and he wants to make real friends. And he can't because he can't be seen by anybody. So that's his whole kind of character conflict, is that Sonic just wants to make friends and he can't. Meanwhile, Tom, he applies to be a cop in San Francisco. So he gets accepted as a police officer in San Francisco. So he and Maddie they're excited to move and stuff. A couple things worth noting is that there are a few product placements in the movie. When Tom gets the letter that he was accepted, he got the job, Maddie ends up saying, oh yeah, I found this place we might be able to stay on Zillow. And it cuts to a webpage of Zillow where it has the little Zillow logo and it has a picture of a house. To me, I didn't naturally think that was a product placement at first, just because I didn't really connect it too much, just because I just kind of thought that's a natural conversation people would have. If I was looking for a place to stay, I would say, oh, I found this place on this website, blah, blah, blah. But anytime you drop a brand name, it's a product placement. That was a pretty quick one. I didn't care too much about it. So Sonic runs around the baseball field. Boom, he creates the electrical explosion that makes a whole power outage go out. And then this time, Tom is packing to go to San Francisco. So then we get into the U.S. government stuff, and I was very pleasantly surprised that the U.S. government stuff was very short. They don't make a huge appearance in this movie, which was great, because in my initial trailer reaction, I was nervous that a lot of the plot was going to center around the U.S. government being like, we gotta capture Sonic, and I was so ugh, this is boring and it's cliche and it's dumb and I hate it. But they showed up for a quick scene. They're in their conference room being like, one guy's like, what if we got Dr. Robotnik on the case. And the one guy's like, no, that guy, he's crazy and stupid or whatever. And he's crazy, but he's got the highest IQ of anyone on Earth and all this stuff. So if anyone, and his drone technology is great. If anyone can capture this creature, it's him. So they get Robotnik on the case. And so he shows up at the military camp or whatever. And they do that really whole kind of long bit Jim Carrey's telling the guy, no one cares about you and whatever. It's worth noting that Jim Carrey is, of course, a standout in this film. He does fantastic. And Ben Schwartz also does a really fantastic job portraying Sonic. I like his version of Sonic a lot. I think this is probably one of the better versions of Sonic to ever exist. They don't paint Sonic as this like badass character. He's kind of just like an immature child. So I think like that really works well with his character. He's just like a young kid who he didn't grow up with any parents or anything in this world. So he's just very like naive and childish and whatnot. So I think this version of him really works really well. So they get Robotnik on the case. He's trying to trace Sonic's footprints. And he's trying to track him to wherever he might have run away to. Sonic realizes that, okay, there are people after me. I need to pack up and I need to leave and I need to jump to. And his whole plan is if he gets caught, he's going to warp to this mushroom planet where there is no life other than these mushrooms. So no one's there to catch him. So that is his safest planet he can go to. But he does know that if he does warp there, he will have no chance to make any friends since nobody actually lives there. And like, there's a couple moments in the movie where the lines of dialogue are written where they just kind of over-explain things that are very obvious. Like, we see a shot of, like, there's like a little cutaway in the cave where you can kind of see the ground, and there's some military dudes with dogs walking around, and they kind of walk by, you can see their feet walk by that little slit in the cave, and Sonic says, like, oh no, they're here, I need to get away, like something like that, where it's like, that's very obvious, and there's just a line of dialogue dedicated to letting us know that, oh my God, they're here and they're going to find me. I need to leave. Like, there's just a couple lines like that in the movie where they just over-explain things. They don't really have to. They're like, well, kids are dumb and don't know anything, so we have to spell everything out for them. Like, I didn't go into the Sonic movie expecting an amazing plot, and I didn't get an amazing plot by any means. It effectively did what I expected it to do. I was sort of hoping to be pleasantly surprised with maybe a little bit more to the plot than I was expecting originally. So Sonic ends up running to Tom's house, and Tom ends up, earlier in the movie, Tom comes home and he sees raccoons digging in the trash or something. So he hears some rustling in his garage or something, and he's like, oh, there's the raccoons again. And he pulls out this like tranquilizing dart. He ends up calling Maddie on the phone because she ends up going to San Francisco to hang out with her sister. And Maddie's sister is a really funny character. She's this woman that is so like, she doesn't trust men at all. She has a daughter, so I'm assuming that she had a guy in her life who ended up leaving or something, but she's extremely paranoid about men and doesn't trust them. So when Maddie's on the phone with Tom, her sister is saying things like, oh, check his phone for dating apps and stuff like that and whatnot. So she's trying to like tell Maddie, you should just divorce him and leave him and all this kind of stuff. She's kind of a funny character. Here's one of the other product placements, one of the big product placements in the movie. Maddie ends up mentioning to her sister like, oh, Tom wouldn't cheat on me or have any dating apps. He doesn't even really know how to use his phone. And Tom ends up saying something like, yeah, the only other app I have on my phone is the Olive Garden app. Because when you're there, you're family. Which is also sort of funny because that's not Olive Garden's slogan anymore, as far as I recall. They like transferred that slogan over to Jimmy Fallon. Now Jimmy Fallon owns that slogan.
They have the slogan, when you're here, you're family. Right? So they're getting rid of the slogan. Yeah. So just a couple weeks ago on our show, I was just joking around. I was like, hey, late night with Jimmy Fallon, when you're here, you're family. We reached out to Olive Garden and we said, if you're not going to use that slogan anymore, can we have it? And they said yes. So here to make it official is the president of Olive Garden, Dave George, everybody. Right there it is, official.
So whatever. So now Tom's character likes Olive Garden, and we're sure to know that because Olive Garden paid however much money to have product placement in the movie. There's a line of dialogue talking about Olive Garden later on that's kind of funny, and I thought it was entertaining. And so I much would have rather preferred that if they were going to do product placement, to at least make it funny and entertaining, rather than like the alternative would have been to have like Sonic be like, gee, Tom, I'm thirsty, and have Tom be like, oh, here's a Pepsi. And then Sonic would be like, wow, you know what makes me want to go at supersonic speed is a nice, cold, refreshing Pepsi, and then he chugs a Pepsi. Like, there are significantly worse ways to do product placement that are not creative or funny in any capacity. When they do the Olive Garden stuff, it's kind of funny. I guess I'll mention it now, because like at the end of the movie, after they save the day, the US government guy comes by. So they end up giving Tom, they say, thanks Tom for saving the world with you and that blue hedgehog. Here's a token of our gratitude. And he gives them an unmarked envelope. And so Tom opens up the envelope and it's like a $25, $50 gift card to Olive Garden. Like, again, obviously it's product placement, but I just kind of thought it was funny that the US government is like, thanks for saving the world. Here's a gift card. I thought that was just a very funny concept. And it made me laugh. He has some line where he's like, you should try their never-ending pasta bowl. It's never-ending. I thought it was pretty funny. I know some people will roll their eyes and groan about product placement and whatnot. I watch so many YouTube videos that have so much sponsored content that I'm pretty much desensitized to any sort of product placement. I don't care that much, personally. So now with the plot, we get to the point where Sonic is in Tom's garage or something, and Tom has a tranquilizing dart. He sneaks in, they scream, he shoots Sonic. Sonic has one of the teleporting rings in his hand. He drops it, and it opens up a portal to San Francisco. Because he saw on Tom's shirt, San Francisco. So that now the portal is opened up to San Francisco, and the bag of rings fall into it and land on a building in San Francisco. So now the entire movie is centered around Sonic needs to run away from Robotnik and the US government. He needs to go to San Francisco to get his teleporting rings so that he can teleport to the Mushroom Planet and escape. And Tom's already going to move out there anyway, so okay, great. And Robotnik shows up at Tom's house, and Tom is hiding Sonic in his attic. There's this line of dialogue in this part, and it's my favorite line of dialogue in the entire movie, and like no one is talking about it, so I'm going to give it a very good mention here. Robotnik ends up trying to brag about how much better he is than Tom, and so he ends up, he says a line, something to the effect of like, I was throwing down formula while you were spitting up formula, to which Tom replies, I was breastfed. And that line made me laugh really hard. I thought it was a very clever joke, a very funny exchange, and I thought it was very good. And it was like the best line in the entire movie for me personally. Anyway, so now we get to the part where you've probably seen the trailer where Tom punches Robotnik. He sees Sonic and he punches him, and then they're like, we gotta get out of here. So they jump into Tom's truck and they run away. So then there's this like pretty long scene, and this is where it kind of drags a little bit. There's this long scene where Sonic goes into the bar and wants to be a cowboy. Tom goes in after him to get him. He's like, we have to get out of here. We've got to run away. We're being followed. This whole scene was just a little too long for me personally. It's all the stuff where like they decide that Sonic wants to make a bucket list and wants to do all of these things in his life. So they make a giant list and they cross off most of it in this bar. So Sonic's entire bucket list is just stuff you can pretty much do there. But other things on the list are like, make a real friend and things like that, which Tom ends up reading later on, that Sonic wants to make a real friend, and that ends up making Tom feel like, oh, this guy just wants to make a friend. During the scene where the robot truck is chasing them and Sonic goes and destroys it, Tom ends up doing the whole, how are you not dead? And Sonic goes, I have no idea. At this point, Sonic flosses. He straight up Fortnite dances at this point. And it was easily the worst part of the entire movie. And I want to watch the movie again, but I don't want to see Sonic floss ever again in my life. So this is so Sonic does it. And he does it twice. At another point, he does it again. He Fortnite dances twice. And this is when I realized that this movie was like not trying to target a 25-year-old man. It's just trying to target like a lot of the 12-year-olds. Like, okay, Fortnite dancing, that's what kids love. And there was a group of people who were paid to make Sonic Fortnite dance. Like, people got paid to make that happen. And it's really bumming me out because it was easily the worst part of the entire movie was just that. And I was like, oh, are you kidding me right now? I'm like, come the fuck on. So after this like really long scene where they're in this bar and they make their bucket list and they do a montage of them doing a bunch of things. And a lot of that stuff was in the trailer. So the scene felt kind of long and it was kind of boring just because I had already seen a lot of these shots in the trailer. So I think if you go in having not even watched any of the trailers or anything, I think this part's a lot more interesting and less boring. Then it picks up a little bit when they're about to start a bar fight. So Sonic ends up going into this bullet time thing where he's going extremely fast and everyone's basically frozen. And he's going around to each person and he's doing things to mess with them. So he's, throwing mustard and ketchup on somebody, and he's adjusting someone's position a little bit, and he moves Tom out of the way so Tom doesn't get punched, and he wraps up some people in toilet paper, and he does a bunch of things. Boom, boom, boom. He ends up standing in front of this guy who's about to punch him. He puts a hat over his head or something where he can't see or something like that. Anyway, so he ends up doing this whole. He gets back into position and he's standing still, and then time goes back to normal, and then all this chaos breaks loose. Everyone ends up falling over and stuff, and him and Sonic and Tom are fine. And then they get out of there. And then they're getting chased, but they drive away and they get out of there. Then they're in a motel or something. And in this motel, we find out that Tom's face is plastered all over the news when he punched Robotnik. That was the whole this is a criminal at large. He's armed. He's considered to be armed and dangerous. If you see him, report him to the authorities and all this kind of stuff. So now Tom, not only Sonic, but now also Tom has to be running away as well, because now Tom has committed a crime by punching Robotnik. It didn't seem like the military guys really liked Robotnik all that much anyway. So why that's a problem in this universe, I don't really know why. Why is it a problem that Tom punched him? No one seemed to like him. I don't know, but apparently it was a problem, and so now they're we have to get this Tom guy. He's dangerous. So again, that's part of some of the stuff where the plot doesn't entirely feel like it makes sense as much. But again, I'm nitpicking the Sonic movie. I think one of my biggest problems is that I'm trying to apply logic to the Sonic movie, and I shouldn't. So they're in this motel. There's a fart joke in there. I groaned, and I was like, yeah, I'm sure if I was 12, I'd be like, this is great. But I'm not 12. And so I don't find that funny. That in the motel, that's when Tom ends up reading Sonic's bucket list and realizes, oh, Sonic just wants to make a real friend. And then we don't see any more of the road trip. And then they just drive and they show up at San Francisco. Robotnik ends up chasing them again. There's a little bomb that is stuck on Sonic, and he tries to throw it, and it's stuck on him. They end up getting it put on a rock. And then Sonic is standing too close to it. It blows up, and Sonic is knocked unconscious. So Tom panics, picks up Sonic, and wraps him up. And they end up getting all the way to San Francisco. They get him to San Francisco. He takes him to Maddie's sister's house. He brings them in, and Maddie and her sister are freaking out. What is going on, Tom? You are all over the news. The government's looking for you, all this stuff. And he's got Sonic in this thing and, whatever. And Tom's like, let me explain. And it's all pretty chaotic for a bit. And then eventually the dog ends up pulling off the towel that Sonic is wrapped up in. And it shows that now Tom is holding Sonic. And everyone else in the house is like, I don't know what this is. This is what is going on. So then Tom's like, can we just talk about this? And after Sonic is revealed in Tom's hands, Maddie's sister passes out. She overreacts and she passes out. So then they took some jump ropes and they just tie her to a chair because I think they think that she's going to panic and call the cops or something. So they just make sure that when she comes to that she doesn't do anything that they would, regret. So Maddie's character, I should probably mention Maddie's character. She's a vet. This is established early on. She's a vet. So he ends up being can you save him? She's like, I'm a vet. I work on animals. I don't even know what I'm looking at right now, because she has no idea what Sonic is. And Tom is like, well, he's a hedgehog, or so he says. So she ends up breaking some sort of salt or something that Sonic ends up sniffing, and he comes to. He survives an explosion, and they just kind of wake him up. And that's it. And so now they're just like, we have to get Sonic up to this tower so he can get his ring so that he can go home and go wherever he needs to go. They get all the way to the top of the tower where they need to go. And then they meet Robotnik there. And he's flying around. He's in this flight suit. And Robotnik has one of Sonic's quills that he stole from Tom when he went to Tom's house. Little thing that happened. So there's all these robots flying around and they're like, Sonic, we hope you have a plan. Sonic's like, I know what to do. And he runs back and he pushes Tom and Maddie off the building because now he has his rings back. All these missiles are fired off at Sonic and he does the bullet time thing again. He goes around and he's just kind of gleefully just kind of knocking around all these missiles and blowing up all the robots and stuff. This part's really good because Tom and Maddie are falling at this point. Also, Robotnik is about to push a button on his ship that is connected to Sonic's quill that is powering it in some capacity. and he's going to like activate the Quill's power. They got this part where like it's really slow motion of like Robotnik going to push this button, and Sonic's then it's cutting between these things where like Sonic is like knocking out some of the robots, blowing them up a little bit, and then cut back to the finger of about to push this button, cut back to Sonic doing some more things, cut back to the finger, and then like right as like the finger gets presses the button, and so now Robotnik is able to move at the same speed as Sonic. So now he's no longer frozen in this bullet time. So now everything else is frozen, but Sonic and Robotnik are going at the same speed. Sonic ends up throwing a ring behind Tom and Maddie so that Tom and Maddie fall into the ring portal and they end up landing back in Green Hills. So then basically Robotnik is just chasing Sonic through San Francisco, and we get back to the very beginning of the movie where they started there. And then Sonic's like, oh, now we're all caught up. I wonder how it ends. Me too. And then they just play the rest of the movie. So again, I thought that part was just not quippy or good. I didn't feel like they really needed to pause the movie to tell you we're caught up now. So there's a part where Sonic ends up throwing different rings and Robotnik is chasing him through these different parts. So they end up running through the desert. They go into like the pyramids. Then they're running on the Great Wall of China. And then he warps back and they end up getting back to Green Hills. And Robotnik shoots Sonic and knocks Sonic unconscious. Oh no! And Robotnik is there in his ship and he's like, I'm gonna win! And Tom ends up sneaking around and ends up jumping on top of Robotnik's ship and tries to take out Robotnik himself, but Robotnik ends up winning and knocks Tom to the ground. There's a funny part here where now they're all in Green Hills. All the townsfolk are there and they're watching. All like 5 townsfolk are there and they're watching this happen. Crazy Carl is there too. And is able to now point out to everybody, because Sonic is laying there unconscious. So now he's able to point out, he's like, look, the Blue Devil, everyone can see him, like all this stuff. So that was kind of funny. That kind of came back around too. Tom ends up standing in front of Eggman and says something to the effect of like, no, don't hurt him. He's my friend. And then Sonic wakes up because he heard Tom call him his friend, and the power of friendship prevails. So Sonic ends up waking up and his eyes light up and he becomes all electrified. This part was really great. As cheesy as the whole friendship thing is, like, I know some people are way into that because it's cheesy and silly and it's great. That's legitimately what Sonic is. Every single Sonic game is like, the power of friendship will prevail. So it's very on brand with Sonic. So I'm like, yeah, of course they did the power of friendship will prevail thing. So the power of friendship wins, and Sonic goes into he's super fast and he ends up beating up Eggman's ship. And he throws a portal behind him, and he pushes Eggman into the Mushroom Planet. He pushes him into the portal, and Eggman ends up crash landing into the Mushroom Planet, where there's no other life other than the mushrooms. And then the portal closes, and then they win. And so the first third and the last third of the movie are like really solid. And then it's just the middle third of it, little slow at parts, not terribly entertaining. Beginning and end, great. There's just the middle needed a little bit of work. I think if they shaved off like 10 minutes or so, the movie's about an hour 40 minutes. So if they shaved off like 5-10 minutes out of the second act, I think it would have been a little bit more entertaining. So they saved the day. Tom ends up realizing that, I'm not going to leave and move to San Francisco after all, because my home is here in Green Hill. Like, home is where you make it and where you're needed the most and all that kind of stuff. They kind of left this part out during the road trip section. Sonic finds out that Tom is going to move to San Francisco, and Sonic gets mad at him for leaving Green Hills. He's like, how can you leave all these people behind? And so that's why the message of the story ends up becoming this. And it's a part of the movie I thought was kind of weird, because I feel like when they were writing it, they kind of had a checklist of like, here's things that exist in movies. And they were like, our 2 heroes need to get into a fight somehow. So we need to have that in there. And I feel like they didn't need that. It felt a little bit out of character for Sonic, just because I don't know why he'd care so much if Tom was leaving. After they're celebrating, Sonic ends up living with them. They end up saying, they tell Sonic to go back to his cave. And they take him upstairs to the attic where they have all his things there. He's got a race car bed now. Now they get to live and be friends. And then, the government guy comes over and gives them the Olive Garden gift card, and that whole bit happens. And that's the thing too. It's like, then he's totally like, because the government guy does end up saying like, oh, that Dr. Robotnik, he never existed and all this kind of stuff. Like he's totally, it concludes very quickly. Like, Tom was like a wanted criminal. He goes from being a wanted criminal to being like, well, I guess you saved the world and you killed off Robotnik. So, all right, we'll just sweep all that under the rug for you. No worries. You destroyed some buildings and stuff, but it's all fine now. I don't know how Tom became a wanted criminal. He just punched Robotnik, and that was it. And None of the government people seem to like Robotnik anyways, so I don't know why they cared that he punched him. Whatever. So after they're done celebrating, everything is there. The day is won. We cut to the mushroom planet where Robotnik is shaving his head. And he's got a very bushy mustache, the more kind of traditional, Eggman that we're familiar with from the games. He's got like the rubble of his ship all bound together. And he ends up saying something like, I'll be home by Christmas. Because he's going to get out of that mushroom planet. He's going to seek his revenge on that hedgehog. And then it goes to the credits. And then that's that. So they set up the sequel already. They were like, okay, Robotnik is still alive. He's in the mushroom planet. He's going to be home by Christmas. They have the first part of the credits. The credits were great. They kind of did the 8-bit Sonic animated thing. It was fun credits to watch. I liked it. And then they have like a mid-credit scene / end credit scene. There are some leaves rustling and a portal opens up and Tails comes out. And Tails looks great. He looks just like he does in the games and everything. But he comes out, he seems like he's been tracking Sonic. I think he has like a watch, or he has got something that he's tracking Sonic on. He ends up saying something to the effect of like, I found him, but I hope I'm not too late. And then he flies away. His tails spin around and he flies away. And boom, we've set up Tails is in existence now. And now this is a version of Sonic that has never met Tails. It'll be interesting to see where they end up going with that. Nothing's been confirmed yet, but considering that the movie is financially doing very well, so far it's made its budget back, and it's probably going to make even whatever they spend on marketing, it'll probably make all that back too. It'll probably be a financial success. I think Sonic will definitely be getting a sequel. Overall, the movie had some flaws in the plot. There wasn't a whole lot of moments where there was like tension. I never really felt like our characters were really in danger or anything. I would have liked moments where I felt like, oh, are they going to make it out? Like, never really felt that way. It didn't seem like they were ever in any real danger. Sonic just felt a little bit too OP. A lot of the references and Easter eggs they included were very fun to see. They included them very nicely into the movie. None of them really stuck out like a sore thumb. They were all like, a lot of them were very subtle and a lot of them were worked into the plot very well. The product placement was a bit of like a drag, honestly, but they were pretty quick and I didn't care that much after a while. I mean, overall, the movie was pretty fun, and I think it's a really good start for the Sonic movies. First time doing a Sonic movie, so it's not expected to be amazing by any means. And I think the movies have a lot of potential. Any sequels they end up doing, I think, have so much potential. Now that we've set up, traditional looking Eggman, now we've got Tails into the picture. The next movie could start with Tails meeting Sonic. Maybe they go back to Sonic's world. It'd be awesome if they actually did a whole movie not on Earth, but in Sonic's world. I think it'd be great if Eggman ends up going into Sonic's world. So now you have this like mad scientist from Earth who is invading this foreign planet or dimension or whatever, this universe, Tom and Maddie could of course go into the Sonic world. I know that'd be a lot more CG to have to do, but it would be kind of nice to see that. It's definitely a love letter to Sonic fans. There's so many references and Easter eggs sprinkled throughout the movie. It'll be one of those movies that I think people will want to like pause and look at like certain scenes and be like, oh, they put that in there in the background. They put that there. Like I was saying on Twitter, and I'm not really sure how the movie will stand on its own. Like if you don't like Sonic or don't know a lot about, like if you're not a Sonic fan or you don't know much about Sonic, I don't know how enjoyable this movie is to someone like that. Because the things that I found most enjoyable were, like being a Sonic fan, were like the references and the Easter eggs and like the things that like a Sonic fan would really enjoy. Those are the things that I found most enjoyable. If you don't know a whole lot about Sonic, those parts are significantly less enjoyable. So I don't really know how much there is to enjoy for someone who doesn't like Sonic very much or know anything about Sonic. I think there definitely can be something for everyone here. So I'm excited to see where they go. I'm hoping they try to get a little bit more creative. I think they wanted to do something very safe first, and I hope then they get a little bit more weird and creative. I'd love to see this world expanded, and I would love to see what they do next. In sequels, when they no longer have to work on establishing Sonic's character and Tom's character and that kind of thing, when they can just focus on just telling a really engaging story, hopefully one that kind of keeps us guessing. The big problem I had with them starting the movie with Robotnik chasing Sonic, you kind of just told us where the movie was going to go, and so then when we rewind all the way, there's not a whole lot of like mystery. We know where we're going eventually, so it kind of takes away any sort of like mystery or tension that the movie could have. I want to watch the movie and not feel like, oh, they're going to be fine. I want to kind of feel like, oh man, are they going to be okay? Like, You know, obviously they're never gonna like kill off Sonic or something, but even if they like were close to trying to like kill off Tails, and then maybe they don't, but like you might think, oh my god, they might actually do it. You know, I want to feel like I'm not sure what's gonna happen next. I want them to sort of keep me on my toes and keep me on the edge of my seat, which this Sonic movie did not really do that. So I'm hoping they try to do something a little bit more like that in the future. We'll see. I feel like they're going to just try to keep it kind of dumbed down for kids. Oh, we want to appeal to the 12-year-olds and have Sonic do whatever is popular at the time. We'll see. I think there's a lot of potential, and I'm excited to see what they do next. And now, all we really need is like a Zelda and a Metroid movie, and we can start the Smash Bros. Cinematic Universe.